Well, hello there, Allie. I think that today we are going to be painting some little cactus because that sounds like something I want to do tonight. This should be page 1. My brushes kind of are on their way out and they shed quite a bit. But I'm going to start by wetting down where I'm going to paint. And there's nothing really special about this except for my brush sucking. So this is probably a no-no. I'm probably messing up the paper a little bit, but I don't care. Brushes are gross. Yeah. So let me grab some paint. Probably should have had that out already. I'm gonna just do some cute little, hopefully that didn't mess up the camera angle. Just some cute little things. I am pretty sure that the watercolors you have will have similar colors and all that. So I don't know if I'm going to mix all the colors that I tell you to use. Like if you have a green, I'm not going to show you how to mix blue and yellow, or maybe I will because I'm extra and it's something that you should probably know. But yeah, so I watered down the paper. I didn't drench it, but I just put enough water on it that it's kind of starting to bubble. And I'm just gonna go around and make sure that it's really taped down onto my table because it starts to bow. The water makes a bubble. And it's not my favorite thing in the world. So I'm going to start, maybe I will show you how to mix. I'm gonna start with a yellow. I'm gonna open it off camera a little bit. So that is way more than I need. Wow, I am wasting paint. And then I think I'm gonna use this blue, or I won't because it's not opened. I'm gonna use this blue, same color, different thing, which is also not open. Anyways, so blue, yellow, and then I don't think I have a true red, so we're just going to call this almost crimson red a red, and just a little bit there. That's the bummer thing about these tubes of paint is they don't really come out slow, so I feel like I waste quite a bit. And I have my little dropper. I'm going to get some clean water, put it in this well. These are called wells. I remember that from high school art. And now what I'm going to do is check and make sure my paintbrush is clean, which it is not. So we're just gonna forget that one and get a different one. I'm gonna take some yellow, bring it over here. And like I said in the introduction, I really have no idea if this is the right way to do it. This is just how I do it. So I like that green. So what I'm going to do now is just start getting a basic shape in. I'm gonna start with a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just gonna fill that in. I'm also gonna do another circle coming off of it. Not perfect. I have some music on in the background. I'm really hoping that that doesn't like flag it. You can leave it at a hidden Mickey, but I'm going to add another one coming off. And yeah, I like that one. Now what I'm gonna do, I have this color, so I'm just going to take my dropper, get a little bit of it, bring it over to this well. I'm going to take some more blue, mix it in. And that gives me a darker green. Well, not really darker green. It just leans more towards the blue side than the yellow side. If I wanted to make it darker, then I would add, well, let me leave enough in there. I would add a complementary color, so let me take some more. So make another bluish green. So this is a pretty good green. If I wanted to make it darker, I'd add a little bit of red because they neutralize each other, and that was way too much red. But if I were to make another green and bring some of that over here, just a tiny bit of that, that was still too much red. Then it'll make a brown. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how color theory works. If not, then just don't listen to me. Just paint with me until it looks good. So I'm going to clean off this brush. Just get that red off. Yes, I am using a tissue. I didn't want to go into the kitchen. And what I'm going to say is the light is coming from up here, so I'm going to hit the left side with this darker green and just let it naturally disperse itself because the light green is still wet. So just going in on the right side. Gonna go under as well. Alright. And then if you wanted to, you could even go in with the brown just on the very, very edge. And it's not going to be a super noticeable thing. But you're just going to kind of drop it in. You're not even really painting, you're just adding color to the water that's already there and letting it naturally do it. So I don't like how harsh that is right there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some regular water and just add some water, and that's going to push the pigment back a little bit and dilute it slightly. And there's a brush hair. Gross. Then you can take the light green again and do even more like that. Just bring it in, smooth it out a little bit. Right now, for this one, I want to use this darker color, so I'm going to bring it up and around. Again, just get the basic shape that you want. Down. And then just come across, so it's kind of look like a tombstone. And then you're just gonna fill it in. Fill her in. And I don't know if this brush is an actual watercolor brush. I know that they do make watercolor brushes, but I have no idea if this is one. So with this, I'm gonna, I really hope you were able to, you probably weren't even able to see the brown that I made. Okay. Gotta work with these camera angles that are non-existent right now. So I'm just gonna move that over, move it up a little bit. So I think that you could see this one. I think that this one was in camera shot. But basically what I did to get this brown color was I mixed some of the lighter green and a little bit of this darker green, or this more blue green, with the burgundy mess that I made, and I got this brown color, which is kind of like a dark tan khaki color. My music turned off. So I go heavy with water when I paint. It's probably not what you're supposed to do. You're gonna hear me say that a lot, but it's what I do. And I like it because it makes the paint stay wet longer and just lets me play around with it a little bit more. So now what I'm going to do is just say goodbye to this one, and I'm going to add even more blue to it. Just pull some from up there, add more until it's a really pretty dark teal. And same thing, I'm going to say the light is coming from here. Let me make it easier on the both of us. That was a gross sound. So light is going to be coming from right here. So the way that light works with reflections and shadows is it goes in a straight line. So if my sun is right here, it's going to hit this side and cast a shadow on the opposite side. For this, I would technically need to have put a shadow right here because this cactus is tall enough to cast a shadow on this one, but we're just going to leave it like that. So I'm going to take this more blue and I'm going to just, same thing, but I kind of want this cactus to have like the spiny look to it. So I'm going to draw lines going up. And once I get to the top, I'm not just going straight, I'm following the curve slightly. So going up, I'm straight, but then going to this rounded top, I'm also rounding my line there. We're gonna do that all the way around. I should probably be looking at cactus references, but I'm not. I'm gonna take some of that lighter green from earlier, just go in between. All right. And then I kind of want to play around and add some of this reddish color that I made earlier and see how that does. I think that this is actually really nice shadow shade for our purposes at least. So what I did is I took the reddish brown that I made and I went up the side where the sun would not be hitting, all the way up, and then also along the bottom. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take some of it and I'm going to pull it up just at the very bottom of where my darker blue lines were. And what you can do if you want to feel fancy is just add a couple of little spots in there, just wherever you want, because it just will show a deeper shadow. Don't worry about lines because we're gonna go back and fix it a little bit later. Okay, now what's another kind of cactus that we can do? We can do one of those spiky boys. Okay, I don't remember. Yeah, I have the darker one. Okay, so I want to come back to this one because like symmetry. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to draw out the shape again. This one's going to be more like a succulent. So I'm going to make like a jester's hat. And then just keep going around, one right there. One right there. One right there. And then we're also gonna have one like in the foreground. So it's gonna look kind of like that. Once you get about the shape that you want, you should really be looking at a reference right now. Just color it in, lock in the color. All right, and now we're gonna take the dark color and we're gonna do the same thing and just very vaguely mark out the different petals. And with this one, this leaf in the front is going to fold toward us. So it's not going to have a point in the front. It's going to have a point that's further down here. But we have to wait for the watercolor to dry a little bit more before we can add that detail in. And with these spiky succulent boys, I know that they usually put off little flowery things, like little stems. So I'm going to take the reddish, I think I took the reddish brown, and I'm just going to make little branches coming off. And then I'll go in with a yellow, which with this one, because you're not going to use as much, I won't use a well. Plus I'm running out of wells. So I'll just take a little bit of yellow, add some water to it, and then just along the edge, just all the way. When I'm doing this, I'm not going in a straight line. I'm taking it and I'm going sideways, and I'm just tapping the side of the brush onto the paper. Sometimes I'm doing an actual like swiping motion, but other times I'm literally just dotting the paper. And then I can go in with the brown, just same thing, just add a little bit of texture with it. Okay, going with the reddish color, just darken a little bit. Because the stem is still wet, I don't have to paint as much. There's already moisture on the paper, so all I have to do is tap and it adds the new pigment in, and it concentrates it on what's already there. And that's still not dry enough. Okay, so now while we're waiting for that to dry, we're just gonna go in and add a little bit more detail. So this one dried lighter. A lot of them, they're gonna dry lighter than when you originally paint. So I'm just gonna go in, same thing I did before. Do my blue-green on the sides where there's gonna be shadow cast. You don't have to do it perfect. Take the lighter green and just go right next to it. You don't have to go on top of it, just right next to it, have it meet the ends. The darker pigment will want to move into the lighter pigment, so it'll kind of make a blend for you. And if it doesn't blend quite how you like it, then what you can do is you can just go in with the very tip of your brush, don't add any more water, and just tap the line where they meet, and it'll displace it a little bit more. So I want to add a little bit more down here. Notice how when I'm adding the shadow, I'm not adding it in straight lines. I'm moving with the shape of the object. So these are very circular, so I'm going to be moving in circular patterns. And now what you can do is you can also add in a little bit more texture if you want to add like some freckles or something on your cactus. You can't add it in the shadow area yet, or else it'll disperse like that, but you can add it in the lighter areas. And you don't have to go too crazy with this because we're going to go in afterwards with some Sharpie and just do some more. And with these dots up here, I don't like how dark they were, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tissue, wrap it around my finger so I only attack what I want to, and just dab. That pulls the water and the pigment that's in it up. It'll leave behind a little bit, but it's about where I want it. It's the wrong brush. Okay. So now I kind of just want to play with this dark brown color. I want to add more of it towards the bottom and not so much on the sides. So again, towards the bottoms. Nice. All right, and then we're gonna go in for our tall boy. And I just wanna go in with this brown. Go up the sides again, and we're just gonna layer on some more of this color. We're not gonna go all the way up. We don't need to be super technical or fancy with it. I don't like how harsh that is at the bottom, so I'm gonna go in with the blue-green color. And same thing we did with the lighter color over there. I'm just going to add it in between, not necessarily going on top of it. Oh, right here I just did. But yeah. And then I'm gonna go in with just water and move that color and dilute it where I need it to be more dilute and not as concentrated. Go in with this dark green again. Just really emphasize the lines at the top. And go in, lighten some of it. This is how I do watercolor. It's just putting color and then taking it away, and then putting more and then taking it away. This is very cool colors with the kind of reddish purple we have, and then the green is very blue as well, so it's a very cool green color. I want to add a little bit more yellow, so I'm going to go in with this lighter green that we've been using and just add some in the middle where it would be at the highest points. Also dragging that down a little bit to blend in with the bottom portion. All right, and now we can move back to the succulent. I'm gonna go in with the blue color, and I'm going to just kind of lightly mark out the shapes of the leaves that I want to do. I have to do it a little bit darker so that it'll show up on camera for you. All right, so this is darker than I would like it to be, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna take our lighter green, which let me add a little bit more yellow too. I'll just use this over here. And we're going to just go along that. Try to force some of the yellow into where that darker blue was. Try to push it back a little bit. Go in with this slightly darker green than the one that we just made. And again with the wet on wet, go in with the blue-green under here. We can be a little heavy. Just mess around with it a little bit. There was actual blue in that and not the blue-green. So too dark, not quite what I want. Dab, it's gone for the most part. So just bring that back up, bring that around, take some of this, just blend it. I have no idea what music is playing right now. Okay, now for the shadows, we're gonna use the blue-green. Mix it up so I'm sure I'm not just getting blue again. A little bit more yellow because it got very blue heavy. Okay, that's better. We're gonna use this darker color as our shadow. I'm gonna go in at the bottom. Now you have to be careful because this is wet, so it's gonna wanna bleed. So you're gonna try to keep it as close as you can to that without it bleeding too much. And you're gonna go in with your lighter color. And again, just bring that water in and let them mix naturally. And then just go in with your brush, kind of zigzag it around a little bit. Get them to blend. And I want the ends to be a little bit darker, like the tips. So I'm just gonna add a couple of dots of the darker blue at the very tips of them. And I could do that all the way around. These ones in the back aren't gonna be as, like, not noticeable, but they're not gonna be as detailed pretty much. So added that, made it darker. Add some this darker green in there. Right. Just mess around with it, keep adding some color, take some away if you feel like it needs to be taken away. And then this. I'm really hoping that listening to music in the background isn't going to flag YouTube or anything and put me in a no-no jail or something. I don't know. Alright, so then we're going to take the red again. We're just going to go in really concentrated and bring it into this stem. Take some of the brownish that we were using before, and I am just going to make dots, and if they link up, then they link up, because the yellow is kind of hard to see without a background. And I don't think we're gonna add a background to this. I think we'll just leave it white. So while those are doing their thing, let's make some pots. I'm thinking we can definitely use this red color, maybe add a little bit more red to it for a pot for one of these. Probably the middle one, since it already has so much red in it. That one could probably do like blue. I don't know. Let's just figure it out as we go. So same thing we did before. Just draw out your shape, make a rectangle. You're gonna go down. And at the bottom, you're gonna kind of curve it. Want to make sure that it's somewhat straight. You're gonna picture a line going across. This is a little crooked, but we're just gonna go with it for now. Color in. And block the colors a little bit. If I weren't just messing around painting this, then I probably would have sketched this beforehand, and you would be able to see the pencil underneath and use that as a guide. But I just kind of winging it. So what we can do now that that's wet, probably shouldn't do this, but it's going to be hard to see, but I can see the edge of my paper. I'm going to take my ruler to about where I want the tabletop to be. And then in order to make sure it's straight, I'm going to look at where my paper is over here, and I'm going to put my ruler flat with that. And then it would work best if you used a 2B pencil, not a 2B, probably like an H or 2H, because those are hard and they don't spread as much. I'm just gonna lightly do a line, and that's where you know your table is going to be. So same thing here, just going in with this darker color, same color, but I'm just adding more concentration to it. I'm gonna go along this rim because there's a shadow cast from it. Go in with some water just along the edge. Let it do its thing. Now that I've got a taste, and you say I'm okay, you got a bucket that you want to my side. Just adding some more. I want to add a little bit more to this side. And your lines don't have to be super definite. We're going to go back in with Sharpie and just do some line work to clean it up a little bit. So I like that pot. Now let's do a yellow one. The yellow one is actually going to be a little bit difficult because you can't use yellow for shading like we did these other colors. So I think with this one, we're gonna do a round pot, and you can see where the line is right there, but it's okay. That's just gonna be the style that we're going for. We're gonna have our crazy line work anyways. So I'm just gonna kind of go around it. If you get it in the cactus, that's okay. All right. Is this song just repeating? Oh, apparently I am listening to a villain playlist here. Okay. So I think that this light brown color that we made earlier would actually work pretty good for a shadow, so I'm going to go in with that. Just lightly along the bottom, along the side. And then to blend it, I'm just going to move my brush back and forth. The yellow is still wet, so it's going to blend nicely. Go back in, add more concentration over here towards the bottom. Right, then right under. Trying to really make sure that none of these end up looking like penises, because that's very easy to do with literally anything, especially cactus. All right, I'm gonna take a tiny bit of the red, just right along the bottom. And right here. Right. So when I'm blending it out, it's probably not that easy to see from where you are in the camera, but there's a light spot right here where it's just where the original yellow that we first put down is, and I'm going to leave that blank because that's going to act as our highlight. We're like kind of following the rules of light, but we're also not, because with these, our light is right here, and technically there shouldn't be a highlight right here in the middle. It would fall right here on the edge if it bounced like off the cactus or something. And then, let's see, what should we do with this one? Should we do a head? Let's do a head. Okay, now, let me think. We have brown right here. Let's try something. Okay, for the head planter, what we're going to do is we're just going to make kind of like an urn shape, like oval. You already know we're gonna fill it in. I'm gonna make it pretty light. I'm gonna really move this pigment around to the point where it's like barely coloring the paper. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the same one. We're just going to block out 2 slightly darker circles. A triangle-ish, and then a line. It's gonna be hard to see on your end. Okay. So I have 2 circles right here and right here. Those are going to be our eyes eventually. I have a triangle that's going to be our nose, and then a line that'll be our mouth. While that's drying, I really want to add some more to this succulent. I'm just going to go in with the darker color again. And just go back. This one I kind of like the streaky-ish, not so much blended. So just go in, add some of the lines, just play around with it along the bottom. That was very dark, too dark, so I'm just gonna pat. I lost some of the pigment around here. Sick of all these people talking, sick of all this noise, tired of all. The nice thing about going back in and doing lines after is this can literally look like a huge blob. And then you add lines to it and you're like, whoa, it's a cactus. So don't be afraid to make it look ugly, because we're gonna make it look beautiful later. Okay, and then we're gonna go in with the same brown color, just even more. Let that dry. And then, what color do I want to use for the table? Let's just go with a blue. So I'm going to take some of this blue, it's dried out a little bit, but that's okay because it's watercolor, so it'll do whatever I want it to do. All right. Clean water in a well. Not really clean water, but close enough. Let me turn it. So this is not very pigmented at all. It's very dilute. And I'm just going to go around the bottom. And I'm actually not going to touch the planters. I'm gonna get very close, but I'm not going to touch them. There's a small white line around them. And you can barely even see that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add more blue. Add more blue. And now I'm gonna go back in. And I'm just gonna go to the left of each of these pots and just add more and let it blend out. I'm also gonna go under the pots. And I'm gonna go in with really heavy blue and really add some color there. Let that do its thing. I can go back in later and take some out, dilute it some more. I'm headed straight for the castle. They wanna make me their queen. Alright, go back in with this blue, just blah 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 blah. And let's bring it all the way over, because like continuity, I guess. All the way over here too. Nice. Okay. Right. So now I just realized it's very off, but that's okay. We'll just write some inspirational quote over here or something. I don't know. Don't be a prick. The usual, you know. All right. Now I think that my Sharpie is still alive. I'm hoping. I think I just bought it. But oh wow, that looks not good. So we're just going to go with it. So I'm going to loosely outline each one, just all the way around. Really does not have to be pretty at all. Don't make it pretty. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I got some paint on your half. I need to cover that half when I'm painting because I am messy. Right, then just... doesn't have to be perfect, just follow that around. And then with these little pistons, I think that's what they're called, pistils, I don't know. I'm just going to kind of scribble like I did on the cover page of your book. Alright, now that that's done, got the basic outline. You can see, oh wow, they're cactus. Now, we're gonna go and add some detail, just add some little freckle spots. Just here and there. And then add some little prickles. You want it to look like a man's hairy leg. And then just stop when it tells you to stop. Just when you feel satisfied. Sure. That's a prickle boy. It's a prickly boy. Alright, with this tall guy, I'm just gonna go in and add the lines. Like really messy works for this style. And I don't know if they have, oh, you know what? They have like the little star guys. So with this guy, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do little stars along the lines that I just drew. That one didn't really work out, but that's okay. This song is inappropriate. Wow. Alright, and then on the outside, we're just gonna do like little bird feet. And then if you wanted, you could even do a little on top, because some of them have that. And then with this guy, they have little ziggy zags on them, I think. With this one, again, I'm following the shape. So with this, as it turns, my lines are going to curve with it until it gets like that. And then for this underside, I'm not going to go all the way, but I am going to kind of scribble from both sides. This one's probably my least favorite. Something that I can do is I can always go in with a paint pen or a gel pen. I only have this gold color, but you could also go in with white and just add some extra freckles and spots. But I don't have anything besides this gold one. And same thing, just roughly outlining pots. This one we're going to take a little bit better care with. Just go around, bottom. Alright, so with this, I'm going to just do a big swirl and go down. Big swirl, go up. And yeah, I feel like that's a pot that some people have because people are extra. Let's just add some lashes to her. Why not? That one turned out interesting for sure. And then you could just table line straight across. And